we are live. Welcome back to Ask Dr. Vincent After Hours series. And I'm not alone. This is already the fourth, or if not fifth times that Christian has decided to remain behind the scene or behind the camera of our podcast. But that's okay as long as we have him, because a lot of our customers and listeners have voiced their opinion about Christian being on the podcast because they are so used to it's just me, and it has been very positive, Christian. So well done.
Well, I'm not. We were having a look at the numbers of viewers.
Christian is actually speechless. Look at that.
We were having a look at the number of viewers of the podcast or listeners of the podcast just earlier today, and we're still not up though at where you doing your own podcasts.
I have done four seasons of Ask Dr. Vincent.
Well, I was just getting a little bit concerned that maybe it was me, and people prefer to just tune into you, which I could understand. I could completely understand.
Well, don't worry, because Ask Dr. Vincent podcast is still an ongoing thing. If you prefer your health and wellness information and science explained to you, being made simple for you in the small bites, 10 minutes, 12 minutes episode, you can still listen to those series. Usually I will drop the episode every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we keep Thursday at 5 p.m. for our longer version, which is the After Hours with Dr. Vincent and Christian. And after all, we do need that space. As I always said, we need that space to be able to discuss things from the scientific point of view in a more sort of kind of flexible manner, because science is science. However, science does get very personal to our lives, to our daily lives. And I do want us to be able to talk about it in the way that it affects our lives. For example, today's topic is the future of healthcare. And I do think that a lot of us think about that.
And that sounds really dry, like to say the future of healthcare and that sort of thing. But we've got to remember, I think, that the world, in fact, is going through its fourth industrial revolution right now. There's all
within
this talk,
very short period of
within
time.
a very short period of time. Everything we do in daily life has the potential to actually change over the next 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years. That's not a long time.
I know, and as a matter of fact, one of the things that I jotted down when we were discussing this pre-broadcasting this, and I can see that some people are actually watching us live, and you're very lucky because just like watching concert, this is recorded live. So if you happen to catch us live, welcome and thank you for your support. But what I was saying is that the main thing that I wrote down when we were discussing this is that the future of healthcare is no longer science fiction. I know Star Trek is one of your favorite series, and in the past, no, you're not that old. 5 or 7 years ago, when you watch Star Trek, you think that this is something that's 100 or 200 years ahead of our time.
I might be that old. There's potential for me to be that old.
Thank you, Dr. Vincent, for the activated phenolics, because it clearly keeps you going, because you are
and don't forget the ab skin, because that keeps me looking at.
Well, people don't know because you're behind the camera.
They have no idea.
So maybe let me make a pledge for you. When our episode views and download a statistic gets to 10,000.
10,000? No, it's got to be 30,000.
Well, for 10,000, I will present Christian in front of camera for you.
I'll go on camera at 50,000. That's what I'll do.
Yes. Anyway, for today's episode, I want to begin by asking you a very simple question, Christian. Would you let a robot diagnose you?
Oh, look, I want to talk about robots. That's what I wanted to do today. And that's a great place to start. So would you, I guess, go into a room or something like that, sit in a scanner and have some sort of humanoid robot tell you what's wrong with you and provide you with a treatment plan?
Would you?
Do you know, I think I would. I don't know. No, I think I would. Because I guess I have a bit of a trust of technology. I'm one of those people that actually quite like how dynamic change can be, and I don't necessarily see automatically, I guess, the sort of downside of change. I guess I'm quite optimistic, especially about science and what science has given us. I'm disappointed maybe that the whole world depending so science advancement is very dependent, or the benefit of scientific advancement is very dependent on where you live. So we live in Australia, we get all the benefits of scientific advancement. If you live in other parts of the world, you just simply do not
And that is
because
the
of
problem that I have as a scientist, because science should be in the same way of industrial revolution has democratized a lot of things that are being produced in mass produced due to the technology in the industrial world. Science in healthcare should also democratize health. But what I'm saying is that what I'm thinking is that for all intents and purposes, machines are already scanning our health statistics, health data. It's just that there is still a human aspect to that. And to play devil's advocate when it comes to a fully automated AI humanoid robot based diagnostic is that they are the AI and this system, the robot, they are only as good as the data that they have statistically, historical data, and we do know that there is a missing link. There is an unequal amount of data that you can pull for different demographic, from different gender, from different ethnicity and races. And I do recall one of the very scary example of this is the Thalidomide, which is a drug that was developed for pregnant women.
thalidomide.
Yes. However, during the test, they didn't use animal who were pregnant or human who were pregnant. So it for some reason the scientific data was deemed valid, but it totally missed the point of testing it for the group of people, in this case,
I
pregnant
mean,
women who actually would use it.
that's a really interesting one, because would AI have made the same mistake?
We
don't
don't know, but being presented with the, say, for example, uh, the likelihood of an African American person developing cardiovascular disease or high blood sugar disease related sugar related disease is higher compared to the white counterpart. And would the AI take that into account and equalize the advancement or the education with for the last 5 or 10 years compared to the historical data for many many decades? So I don't know what the answer to that question.
And look, all of these issues is, something we're going to explore, and we're going to get into some really interesting areas of discussion, like immunotherapy and biohacking and transplants and all that sort of stuff, which we're going to talk about. But at the same time, I'm just aware that some people might be listening and going, "What are these crazy people talking about? Humanoid robots or something like that?" And I just want to tell you, the reason that we're talking about this is, humanoid robots are now. So I'll read through them. These are the humanoid robots that stand upright, have no connections to anything. Everything's Wi-Fi. They walk and talk the same as
C3PO.
people. These are the C3PO type looking robots. And I'll run through the ones that can run at 5 kilometers an hour. So these are the ones that can run at 5 kilometers an hour, right? Out of the US, there's a robot called the Figure O1 from a company called Figure A1. There's the Digit from a company called Agility. There's obviously the Optimus Generation 2 from Tesla. From China, there's the H1 from Unitree, and that runs at 18 kilometers an hour.
18 kilometers.
18 kilometers an hour. And then there's obviously also, did I mention the Atlas from Boston Dynamics?
There you go.
And then one from Canada as well called the Phoenix from Sanctuary AI. So I just talked about the US, Canada, and China, and there's many, many more from China.
And don't forget all of the hardware that the likes of Honda from Japan, they
These
have
aren't even the
already,
Japanese ones.
yes, they have already developed over the past 20, 30 years.
I mean, this is now. So humanoid robots are not science fiction. They're just not in wide release yet.
And taking that back to the future or the modern medicine, whilst I have my question when it comes to diagnostic and treatment plan, I do believe that having robots performing surgery has a lot of upsides because it eliminates fatigue, it increases precision, it eliminates that split second of judgment that as human we may not be able to react in a real time quick enough to say, for example, locate the bleeding, for example, calculate all of the data points from all of this diagnostic machine to make the correct decision, the correct incision. So robots in surgery, I'm all for that because it improves precision, it makes for fewer errors, and it actually will result in faster recovery.
But also, I mean, if we're and robots, no matter what they look like, are kind of a treatment or a diagnostic platform. I guess they're kind of a platform. But in terms of overall health, and this is going to remain, I think, true for the rest of human history. You have prevention, you have diagnosis, and you have treatment, and you have recovery. And really, the most important of those four are prevention.
That is correct because you can spend a lot of money and perform a lot of high tech and cutting edge technology, but I agree with you. Prevention is key. Prevention is better than treatment because it makes it puts you in a position where you don't need that treatment in the first place. Obviously, having the choice of treatment if someone develops certain diseases or condition and disorder is great. However, being healthy is always the first choice. And not to mention that all of these data points, all of these treatment plan, they're all a form of data, right? So who owns this data? Who do you trust enough to own that data? I mean, already we are very worried about our phone numbers, our emails, our address being out there, up in the cloud. And I do believe in the technology, but if nothing at all of these incidents of companies being hacked is a cause for concern.
And look, we're talking about many different things today, but it's actually all about this amazing technological change that we're living through, and living through at such an accelerated pace. This is all just happening. So yeah, but maybe on the preventative side of things, it will always be true that the things that are going to impact you from a health perspective are viruses, bacteria. Correct me if I'm wrong. Fungus,
That's correct, especially if you watch The Last of Us.
and free radicals, which is where we come in. And all about inflammation, cellular inflammation, and that sort of stuff. And then obviously also if you injure yourself. So as the five main things in terms of what you can do negatively or to your body or how it affect you negatively in terms of your health: virus, bacteria, fungus, free radicals, and some sort of injury.
Yes, so for example, if you have a physical trauma, or if you somehow bang your head, or if you fall down and break your bones and stuff like that, that's what you're referring to. But that was a good segue in me voicing my opinion when it comes to what we do, because I think 50% of the worry and 50% of the jitter that people have when it comes to the workforce and their livelihood is that whether or not what they do in terms of the things that earn them money will be taken over and replaced by AI. And I do believe,
Including doctors.
including doctors and including a lot of things in preventative healthcare. But I do believe that when it
Can we
comes,
be replaced? Oh no.
I was going to, that's the point I was going to make. I do believe that I have a very high confidence in terms of what we do, because at the center of it, out of those five things that you just listed, 80% of the cause of health issues or disorders or conditions are rooted in inflammation. And you can spend a lot of money trialing new technology, cutting edge technology. However, essentially, human being, we are made up of trillions and trillions of cells. When we when we take a step back and really just break it down to the core essential, if you look after your cells, you will manifest good health. And that's the reason why in my research, molecular nutrition, we really believe that if we reduce inflammation at a cellular level, increases the functionality of the cells, including the ability of cells to regenerate, to renew itself, you are actually off to the best start when it comes to your health. So you are not working against your body. You're not trying to manipulate your body. You are working with your body in terms of maintaining this ability to regenerate at a cellular level.
So I guess to make sure the robots don't get the upper hand on us, we owe it to ourselves to try and stay healthy.
That is correct. And I do believe that the best investment that you can do when it comes to your health is not to get sick in the first place. I know that it's easier said than done, but if you actually break it down, it's not something that is very complicated. It's something that you know, I know, everybody knows it. Hydration, sleep, good nutrients, reducing your intake of ultra processed food, all of those things that basically keeping your cells healthy. And I have to say that supplements play a part in that. Nothing like, you know, people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on NAD plus, NMM, creatine, all of these things that sound really, really good and promise you the world. However, they're not really rooted in science. They are selling promises. What we know is that things like omega-3 fish oil, for example, the EPA and the DHA really does help our body to reduce inflammation, to increase circulation, activated phenolics. Phenolic antioxidants are the most potent antioxidants in the world. The problem with these antioxidants is not the constituents, it's how our body absorb and utilize it. And that's where our patent technology comes in play. The other thing that's also really helpful is things like vitamins and minerals. And we live in a world where we know exactly these levels of these nutrients in our body. However, due to Instagram and TikTok, instead of going to the doctor and get their blood test and know exactly whether or not you need these supplements, they listen to Dr. Google. They listen to someone who are really famous on TikTok or Instagram. Never mind the 8 years that I spent studying nutrients. People prefer to take their health advice from the screen, watching TikTok and Instagram rather than watching
So,
Ask Dr.
so
Vincent.
tell me, how accurate really is Dr. Google? Should we be? I mean, I've done it. I've Googled. Oh, I know I've got a mark on my toe. I better Google that and find out what that is. Before I talk to my doctor, like I'm a bit sensible about it, but I don't want to bother the doctor if like it's nothing.
I I am in the belief that it is less about the tools, including Google, more about the user, how you use the tool. Dr. Google is a lot more accurate for people like me who have
Oh, you
fundamental
understand.
knowledge and
Okay.
understanding about health and how our body works. But for the rest of people who not necessarily number one, educated in and informed in healthcare, or number two, interested in healthcare, because a lot of people who are very smart and informed in engineering, for example, they have no interest in terms of understanding about our body. And when they have a headache, they will go to Google and say that, why do I have a headache? And guess what? And trust me,
The
try
answer's
this.
the answer's always cancer.
Yes, the fourth or the fifth one is cancer.
Oh, you've got cancer.
Yes, and something that could easily be solved with paracetamol. Suddenly, you think that you have to redo your will because you have like 3 months to live. However, I'm saying that not to
Is
throw
this the
out.
danger with AI and these robots and this misdiagnosis, or taking doing a kind of a risk assessment and always going for the worst possible
Outcome or
outcome?
possibility.
Yeah, yeah.
I do think so, but I think the AI is getting better, obviously. However, I also do believe that common sense is also key. And I'm not saying that for people to trivialize the possibility of your headache is a sign of something more sinister, more serious. However, I do want people to recognize that there should be a balance, and there's a time and place for using AI and going online to research your symptoms. However, if symptom persists, please do consult your health practitioner.
So how can I guess AI and we were talking about robots as well, the humanoid robots. How can they? Because this is going to become domestic. We're going to be all buying in 5 or 10 years' time. We're all going to be buying robots
And
to work in the house.
I will be the early adopter of this robot. Before air fryer was a thing in Australia, like well before, I was already using air fryer. As a matter of fact, there was a time, maybe I think around about 2022, there was a time, and you know this, within my circle, friends and family, the indication that I actually care about you is that whether or not I had gifted you an air fryer.
Well, that's true, and I did receive an air fryer from you that I still that I still have. But I know in my household, having a robot to pack and unpack the dishwasher will solve an enormous number of disputes.
For me, it would be to iron clothes, because I do not believe, or I believe in someone else's ironing my clothes. I do not believe in ironing my clothes because I don't know. Uh, Again, this is something that.
But it could give us more time to focus on our health too. It could give us more time to exercise. It could give us more time. I mean, the danger is the whole Wall-E type. Remember that movie,
Yes.
Wall-E, where everyone sort of went up into space from the ruined Earth or whatever, and then they were all just sitting around being served by robots and all that sort of stuff.
I was about to say, this is the interesting thing, that because we think that a lot of our unhealthy habits or bad habits are caused by us being time poor. However, if nothing at all, COVID taught us a lot of things, because most people, obviously aside from the frontline workers, would have a lot of time in on their hand when it comes to the lockdown and everything. But you have 50% of these people starting to get healthy, get fit, pick up new hobbies, learn how to bake, learn how to grow their own sourdough, whereas the 50% focusing on Uber Eats, doom scrolling, binging televisions, watching series and everything. So you're absolutely right that sometimes it's about the intention, because when there is a will, there is a way. And blaming our unhealthy habits to being time poor is only part of the issue.
And we're a long way away from just having pills that we can, take to solve all our health problems.
Yes, and
because human biology is too complicated for that, isn't it? Really, in the end, really.
In the end, that is correct. And I do also believe that not only we're a long way from that, I also don't like the aspiration to have one pill that solves everything, because already we're seeing this, like the IV drips that helps with hangover, for example, or energy drinks that helps with low energy due to bad sleep. So we are training our mind and our body and our habit to sort of kind of use technology to undo the bad habits. So I don't believe that people can bank sleep, for example. So uh, it doesn't mean that you can, stay up all night and then say that over the weekend I will just sleep more. Maybe it works when you're younger, but as we grow older, as our body becomes a little bit less able to tolerate and adapt to the environmental stressors, this ability to bounce back will be significantly reduced. And what didn't hurt you when you were 22 perhaps will now have a significant impact to your daily lives. So, for example, energy. I I don't know about you, Christian, but when I was doing my PhD, I would sleep in my lab. I would be able to function with just 1 hour or 2 hours sleep. But as I get more mature in age, I do believe that I need that sleep for my body to recover and get that energy every day.
I was terrible in my younger years. If you talk to my mum, I used to sleep like 12 hours. I don't know why. It's just my physiological thing, and I still need 7 or 8 hours sleep. I'm not a short sleeper person.
And that goes to show that there are still fundamental things that our body biologically needs to be able to function. And in my mind, maybe not in my lifetime, not in my child lifetime, that you would be able to solve all of your health issue with just taking one pill.
So regardless really of all these technological changes and the amazing things that are going to happen over the next, and I repeat this, 2, 3, 5 years, this is all happening over the next 2, 3, 5 years. You still need to be focusing a fair bit on yourself. You still need to be exercising. You still need to be taking the supplements. You still need to be eating correctly. You still need to be, treating your skin with care, and all that sort of thing. That doesn't change.
That doesn't change, and unfortunately, healthy habits. The term healthy habit sounds less sexy compared to biohacking. So
Well, let's talk about biohacking.
I know.
What is biohacking?
So
What is that?
biohacking basically means that all of this cutting edge technology that you can do or you can take to hack your biology. Say, for example,
But you can't hack your biology, really, can
well,
you?
this is why
It's not really hacking, is it?
it's not really hacking, but this is why it sounds so much sexier compared to like drink your water or walk 10,000 steps a day.
Like an
Because
American thing.
it is. It came out from billionaires and millionaires who have a lot of money who, because I mean, I would probably be thinking the same if I have billions and billions of money. When you amass that kind of wealth, obviously you want to live longer so that you can actually enjoy and use all of your money. So they came up with this term of, biohacking. And while some of them kind of may or may not work, things like cold plunging or cold shower or intermittent fasting.
Is that really biohacking? Is that actually doing anything?
Well, there are some evidence when it comes to cold shower or cold plunging that shock your system. However, is it sustainable? Secondly, if you have to be hooked to a machine to get your, drip of NAD plus or sleep with certain things that make sure that you have the most optimal sleeping environment, it may be accessible and sustainable for people who are, not paying a lot of tax because they're billionaires. But for the rest of us, this is not something that is doable. And not only that, they are not rooted in science. It's not 100%
It's
proven.
quasi-science, isn't it? It's quasi-science.
It is positive thinking science.
Positively. However, if you want to go to the complete other end of the scale, and this is also super exciting, everyone would have heard about it, and something that's really developing very quickly, immunology.
Immunotherapy, for example, which
Yeah.
is something that I'm very fascinated about the immunotherapy, and I also as
So tell us what it is. What is
okay.
what is
So the reason why I'm very fascinated with the immunotherapy is that I don't know if you have heard this story before or not, but let me just retell this story for people who have just joined onto our podcast. The part of the origin of my research was around pancreatic cancer. So basically, the research group was being tasked of finding natural extract or natural compounds that can help to increase the life quality and expectancy post-diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. Not to cure it, because obviously it is very aggressive and there are other people attacking it from the pharmacology point of view. But the reason why I got really interested with immunotherapy is that the main reason why it is so hard to cure cancer is because cancer is essentially a mutated cells in our body. It is not a foreign cells. It's not like viruses or bacteria that you can take something to attack them. They used to be part of our body. So there's a fine line in terms of attacking them, but then at the same time, you're also attacking the healthy cells. That's the reason why radiotherapy or chemotherapy can be detrimental to the healthy cells. Secondly, because it is part of our uh, body at one time before it gets mutated due to free radicals or inflammation, you can't certainly, pinpoint how to kill these cancer cells. So immunotherapy basically is taking advantage of your own immune system
Okay.
and recognizing the mutated cells and attacking only the mutated cells.
So it's not about bringing something that's immune into your body. It's about using your body's own immune system.
It is like training them. It's basically like, you're equipping your own immune system, immune cells, to fight against the uprising, the rebels that has probably tried to do a coup d'etat on your body.
I think that's the clearest explanation of it I've ever heard. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. After all, it is called Ask Dr. Vincent. So the promise of this treatment is that basically it personalizes treatment. It personalizes medicine down to your DNA, because obviously to be able to recognize your own body, the treatment itself has to be customized to your own DNA and genetic makeup. And I do believe that the rise of AI will help this, because there's our body is basically a hub for millions, if not trillions, of data points. All of the DNA are basically encoded data in our being. So to be able to isolate the mutation, to be able to transcript this mutation, you need a lot of processing power, and this is where AI is coming into play.
But how close really are we into just, you've got things wrong with you, you step into this like machine, it buzzes for a while and you're fixed? That's not happening anytime soon.
So in essence, fundamentally, it is already happening. So it is just less of a science fiction display compared to reality. Let me give you an example. When you watch Star Trek and you basically type in food or choose whatever food, and then it fabricates the food. So that's basically already happening now in the form of 3D printing. So instead of using plastic filament to print all of this, I don't know, mug or plates or whatever it is, when it comes to printing food, the ink or the material that they're used to print this food, it comes from protein, fat, carbohydrate. So it is already in the form fundamentally
There'd be
of
people
what it is.
working on this now,
That is
wouldn't there?
correct. It's just that it doesn't look like Star Trek or Star Wars or yet.
And actually, for a lot of these things that we think are incredible and not even possible, AI will even so artificial intelligence will accelerate the development of all these things.
That is
because
correct.
you plug the artificial intelligence into it, and then suddenly it's solving some of the problems that maybe couldn't be solved.
And at the same time, hopefully it will also make it more accessible and affordable, because at today now there are people who are doing trials of this, people with money, people who funded this research. However, for the rest of us, this is something that is still out of reach. So the AI, similarly with the Industrial Revolution, where intricate fabric used to only be exclusively available to the rich people. The color purple, for example, or sugar. But with the rise of Industrial Revolution, it makes it more accessible. And my hope is that, like you, I'm also optimistic when it comes to technology. My hope is that the AI will make all of these things accessible and equitable for everyone. The concern that I have is that at what point you can confidently say that you trust the AI or you can control the AI. Because like you, I watch a lot of TVs, movies. I read a lot of science fiction when it comes to, Skynet, for example, Terminator. What's stopping AI from recognizing or identifying human as the threat to humanity? Because I'm a good person, you're a good person.
These are the philosophical questions of all this stuff, and it's kind of like we're sitting back here doing our own thing and just kind of hoping someone else figures it out. But that's kind of all we can do, isn't it? Well, we can't. What can you do?
But this is the thing. Like, I always believe that the reason why this space and people like us and this platform is important is it needs to be in existence and present, is because if we're not talking about this, nobody probably think about that. And a lot of times people think that, oh, it's only me thinking about it. By us putting it out there, it actually encourages discussion, and this discussion actually snowballed because I believe that when you give when you open up a discussion, more often than not, people have an opinion, and I do believe that every single opinion is important because at the end of the day, like it or not, it will affect all of our lives
And soon.
soon.
And soon. So maybe it's a bit of a challenge then. We're offering a challenge to the people who are listening to the podcast to start having this discussion and doing their own research and having an opinion on this amazing time that we're going through in terms of artificial intelligence and
And the reason
all this
why
stuff.
people need to be thinking about this is because politically, legislatively, our government needs to catch up too. I mean, you wouldn't believe it that the Recording Act basically was still in the olden days. Did you know that in some states in the U.S., if you if you record someone without their permission, if it's only their image, so or the video aspect of it without the sound, it is actually legal and you can't be persecuted and you can't be sued because the law that governs that was still around the audio because back in the day you can only record someone's voice, not their video. So
Well, I mean, this is interesting. I think it was Canada who have in fact just legislated that your own image
it's your
so
own IP.
is your own IP. So you own what you look like. And this all sounds like people are getting carried away, but there's the potential, as I say, within the next decade for
Deepfake.
deep fakes, not only on the internet, which is all happening now, and I'm sure that's kind of what the legislation was aimed at. But also we'll get there with these robots. So there'll be a robot of you wandering around if you don't own your.
Well,
Well,
if I can have three more robots that who can do what I'm
no
doing
one,
every
no one
day,
can replace you, Dr. Vincent. Not
well,
possible.
that is very, very pleasing to hear. But here's the left field question for you, and I think we touched on that a little bit 2 or 3 episodes ago. The hot mic moment between President Putin and President Xi on the organ transplant and longevity.
I mean, are they? Is this immunotherapy and that sort of stuff facilitating replacement of organs, either with
The printing.
printing of organs, so an artificial organ, or with an organ from pig's organs are being tested in terms of being transplanted into humans or other human organs? Is immunotherapy going to assist with this? And
I think so because one of the major obstacles when it comes to organ transplant is the host body rejecting the transplanted organ because of the difference in antibody, the difference in basically the communication of the cells. Because our body is very smart; it recognizes it as something that is not of their own body. So immunotherapy will help with that. The invention of new drugs and medicine to smoothen this transition is
which
also
again, AI is going to accelerate massively, isn't it?
yes. What concerned me is that, and this is all allegedly, obviously, because we get the same information that the whole world is getting when it comes to this hot mics moment. But what I'm saying is that going back to the discussion of the ethics, at the moment, it feels that all of these things are only available to the rich and powerful. Obviously, you're talking about two of the most powerful head of states in the world, from President Putin from Russia and President Xi from China, and that raises the question around the organ shortage, for example, whether or not the tension when it comes to powerful people, powerful leaders talking about this so candidly, because obviously we know that they want to remain in power. So the longer they live, the longer that they remain in power, right?
Yeah, it is that kind of ethical, I guess, conundrum. Is all this new technology only available to the wealthy? And I think that would be terrible if it if that was going to be the case. But it's such an exciting time to be living in, even if we don't realize it. Everything's going to happen over the next sort of few years. Maybe everything's an exaggeration, but a lot of things are going to happen. We're not going to be able to recognize maybe some things in our society in sort of 5 years' time, because it would have changed so much. But I really do take your point from the very beginning that the best thing you can do for your own health is preventative healthcare. So stay healthy, and you owe it to yourself within all of these changes that are going to happen within some of the aspects that life is going to get it maybe easier. There's going to be some machine unloading and
So
unloading a
basically,
dishwasher.
you need to stay healthy, because if the future is bright and promising and positive, you would want to live long and healthy enough to enjoy that. But at the same time, if the future is bleak, you want to be healthy and able-bodied enough to run away from the zombies.
Well, hopefully no zombies and no bleakness. I'm very optimistic about it all. So I'm
And
looking forward to it.
I ought to be optimistic, because I am in science, and people in science, 99% of the reasons why people get into science is to improve humans' life and to improve the world that we live in. And uh you know you're absolutely right. We can't control all of these rapid changes, but the one thing that we can control, that is within our ability to change and to improve, is our health. And I'm not talking about all of this crazy biohacking stuff, expensive treatment. I'm literally talking about drink enough water, sleep, uh, you know, make sure that the connection that you have with people are actually fruitful and positive. Stay positive, move, sweat, and eat healthily. All of these things that your mom knows, my mom knows, your grandma knows, my grandpa knows. So things that sometimes we forget or simply too lazy to do. Well, on that note, I did say the L word. I don't know whether, probably Christian, are you offended? Do you consider yourself lazy?
Occasionally.
And that's why we're here to remind you that when it comes to our health, although sometimes we feel that we can be a little bit lazy or not wanting to do things, that's why it's important to make sure that your goal is realistic. You need to maintain this daily habit and consistently, because consistency trumps perfection. And on that note, I want you to consistently listen to our episode. This has been a pleasure to be able to have this platform to talk to all of you. And thank you so much for allowing us space to discuss the craziest things. For example, today, the future of healthcare, robot, AI, organ transplant, even discussing the potential of having President Putin and President Xi living forever. On that note, I bid you adieu. Please make sure you follow us on our socials at Ask Dr. Vincent. Go to our website, askdrvincent.com. And, I'll see you next time. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.